While the great houses wage war over planets, an order of women has spent 10,000 years fighting a very different battle. A plan so vast that no emperor has ever seen its edges. And the most troubling part is this: Paul Atreides was never supposed to exist. I will show you why he is, quite literally, a calculation error. But to understand the error, you first need to understand the machine. Here is what the movies never told you about the Bene Gesserit. Let us start by sweeping away a false idea. The Bene Gesserit is not an order of witches, and it is not a religious congregation either, even though the order loves being mistaken for one. It is a school of human conditioning pushed so far that its graduates look supernatural to the rest of the universe. Training begins in childhood. It aims at something simple to say and almost impossible to do: total control. Control of every muscle, including the ones your body moves without asking you. Control of fear, through a litany every fan knows by heart. Fear is the mind killer. Control of the metabolism, down to internal chemistry. A reverend mother can analyze a poison inside her own blood and neutralize it, molecule by molecule, by sheer will. This discipline has a name in the books: Prana Bindu. Mastery of nerve and fiber. In fact, the very first scene of the novel is a demonstration of this philosophy. The Gom Jabbar, an old woman, holds a poisoned needle against Paul's neck and orders him to keep his hand inside a box that simulates the most atrocious burning imaginable. The test comes down to one question: human or animal? An animal pulls its hand out by instinct and dies on the needle. A human masters the reflex because he thinks further than his pain. That is the order's obsession, condensed into a box, sorting, within the species, what belongs to reflex and what belongs to consciousness. And it is from their ranks that the litany against fear comes, those words Paul recites in the dark. I shall not fear, for fear is the mind killer. For them, it is not a prayer, it is a procedure. And that is only the baseline training, the one every sister receives. The order's real capabilities begin after that. Let us talk about the voice. You saw it in the films. A command spoken in a strange register, and the victim obeys. What the film never shows is the mechanism. The voice is not a magical power. It is an analysis. In a few seconds, the sister reads the person in front of her: posture, tensions, vocal register, fears. Then she modulates her own voice, calibrated precisely on those weak points. The command that breaks a guard would do nothing to you because it was not built for you. And keep this detail in mind: the voice does not work on everyone. There are trained minds that resist it, and one character in the first book is practically immune. I will come back to that in a few minutes because that immunity explains one of the most important scenes in the novel. Now we enter the part the films barely touch, and it changes absolutely everything. It has a Latin name: the Missionaria Protectiva. You remember the Fremen recognizing Paul as the Lisan al-Gaib, the voice from the outer world, the Messiah announced by their ancestral prophecies? Here is the truth the book states in black and white. Those prophecies are not ancestral at all. They were written, manufactured, and deliberately planted on Arrakis centuries ago by the Bene Gesserit. It is a systematic program. For generations, the Order has sent missionaries to seed legends on hundreds of primitive worlds. Always the same motifs: a mother and her son from the outer world, a chosen one, a savior, precise signs of recognition. Why? Insurance. If one day a sister finds herself in danger on one of these planets, all she has to do is activate the local superstition, speak the right phrases, perform the right gestures, and the population will protect her as a sacred figure. In other words, when the Freemen kneel before Paul and Jessica, they are not witnessing a miracle. They are falling into a trap written before they were born. And Jessica knows it. The book shows her recognizing the legends one by one and using them, methodically, to keep herself and her son alive. Every fulfilled prophecy is a key she turns inside a lock planted by her own order, and the Missionaria is only one network among others. Look at where the Order places its women. Everywhere information flows. sisters as wives and concubines inside the great houses, tutors beside the heirs. And at the very top, the truth-sayers, those reverend mothers trained to detect a lie inside a voice, who have become indispensable to the powerful. The emperor himself keeps his own at his side. Gaius Helen Mohiam, the woman holding the needle in the book's first scene. Measure the elegance of the arrangement. The houses pay to install the order's agents in their own homes. They ask for them, because the service rendered is very real. It has worked for 10,000 years, and nobody objects, since everyone is convinced they are the one using the other. Let that idea settle, because it transforms the meaning of the film you watched. The religious fervor that carries Paul to power is not a mystical force. It is infrastructure, installed, maintained, documented. But the Missionaria Protectiva is only the field tool. The real project of the Bene Gesserit lies elsewhere, and it is measured in millennia. The breeding program. For 90 generations, the order has been arranging marriages in absolute secrecy. Sisters placed as wives or concubines in every great house, bloodlines crossed again, adjusted, with the patience of a gardener planting trees whose shade he will never sit in. The goal: to produce a human being who has never existed. A mind able to go where no reverend mother can go. Let me explain. When a sister becomes a reverend mother, she gains access to something staggering: the memories of all her female ancestors. Thousands of women's lives, available inside her like personal memories. But there is a wall, a direction in which no woman can look: the male line. Every reverend mother describes the same thing: an inner place that terrifies her, where she cannot enter. The being the order wants to create could look both ways. The totality of human memory, plus one more thing: the vision of the paths of the future. Its code name: the Kwisatz Haderach. A Kwisatz Haderach, controlled by the order, seated on the imperial throne, would give the Bene Gesserit what it has aimed at all along: the quiet, permanent stewardship of the human species. By the way, let me close the earlier loop. Who resists the voice? Mentats. Those humans trained in pure calculation can detect it and counter it. The Order's best tools have blind spots, and the universe of Dune is full of people who live inside those blind spots. Which brings us to the anomaly: the calculation error announced at the very beginning. The 90-generation plan was reaching maturity. The second-to-last step was precise. Lady Jessica, sister of the Order, concubine of Duke Leto Atreides, was to give birth to a daughter. That daughter would have married the Harkonnen heir, Feyd Rautha, and from that union of the two enemy houses in the following generation, the Kwisatz Haderach was to be born. Under the total control of the Bene Gesserit. Jessica disobeyed. Out of love for Leto, who wanted a son, she used her prana bindu control to conceive a boy. A tiny act at the scale of one life, an earthquake at the scale of the plan. Because that boy, Paul, was born with the potential of the Kwisatz Haderach, one generation too early, outside all control, inside a house the Emperor was preparing to destroy. 10,000 years of patience, 90 generations of calculation, destroyed by a single choice made out of love. That is the true story of the Bene Gesserit in Dune, the most perfect machine in the universe, defeated by the one variable it never learned to model. But one question remains open, and it is dizzying. What became of that Kwisatz Haderach outside of anyone's control? What Paul really is, what he sees when he looks at the future, and why even the Bene Gesserit ended up fearing him.